Friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going in Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to. It is Countout Day.
It's Friday.
It's Friday, which is Countout Day. And we're not going to be doing our SmackDown review tonight because we've got a network special tomorrow, Saturday night's main event. I'll be honest with you, Lars, it doesn't feel that special. But we're going to be doing our live watch-along and review. What do you got?
You know, it feels like a 5-hour SmackDown. They're breaking it into two parts. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, SmackDown and then Raw. Yeah, that could be. I'm sorry, and then Saturday night's main event. Yeah. Well, regardless, we're going to be doing our live watch-along of that, and then we'll review that and SmackDown afterwards because what you're saying is probably true. So, yeah, join us tomorrow evening for that. It's network special. It's only 2 hours. A breeze, Larson. A
breezy show.
A breezy show.
Hopefully. Got no good segue, so let's talk about what we're going to talk about here on Count Out. You know, with the news that Britt Baker may be on her way out of AEW. Mm-hmm. Just today, we're talking about this more. We're shooting this on what day is today? Wednesday. Report that Ricky Starks asked for his release from AEW. We're going to talk about 10 wrestlers who had, to varying degrees, essentially like a falling out with AEW.
Yeah, it's funny, and we're going to definitively, given that we have no insider information beyond what's been published or talked about in interviews, which has been pretty enlightening.
Yeah.
We're going to definitively say who's at fault for these falling outs at the conclusion of each subject. And then at the end, Larson, I'm just bringing this up on you. At the very end, we're going to predict who's going to have the next falling out. AEW. Yeah, right. Man.
All right.
No easy day at the office for you today. Anyways, let's go ahead and jump into it. Number 10. Mike Santana.
So he and Ortiz arrived in AEW in 2019, August to be exact, at All Out 2019. Pretty quickly thereafter joined the Inner Circle. Mm-hmm. I believe that happened on the very first episode of Dynamite in October of 2019. That's how the show ended.
That is correct.
Was formed.
It's like, wow, this is going to be awesome. This is going to be years of logical entertainment.
Yeah, not exactly what followed, including, for some reason, Santana and Ortiz never went in those tag titles, and that seemed to be one kind of issue regarding Santana and why he made the decision to ultimately leave AEW. I have interview with Santana that he did with Chris Van Vliet.
Yeah.
Talking about why he and Ortiz never won the tag titles. And this is what Santana has to say. These transcripts come to you from WrestleZone. Quote, "Your guess is as good as mine. I will be real. I'm going to shoot straight with you. The reason I was given is that there's too many other people fighting for that spot, and it pissed me off more than anything. I understand that when you get to a certain level in this business, if you don't fight for yourself, you don't advocate for yourself, you're going to get nowhere. And that was a big part of my fight within my team. And when I heard that, it just validated everything that I was like, all right."
He expands on that in the interview because I watched a larger clip of it with that in the middle of it. And they were told by the Young Bucks that they would actually be the people to take the titles off of SCU.
Oh, the second champs. Okay.
Yeah. And right before that happened, like I think he said 2 weeks before, because they were supposed to be like a year-end show or like a New Year's Day show, something like that. Mm-hmm. And there was supposed to be a match there, and then that's supposed to lead to them getting the titles. And right around that time, Santana's dad passed. And he said, I was gone for 2 weeks. And in that 2 weeks, everything changed. And he goes on, he mentions the quote that you just gave. And he elaborated on the relationship between him and Ortiz going downhill. And essentially, from his point of view, Ortiz was fine staying the course. And Santana felt that, no, we need to be a bit more sharkish. We need to fight to get what we really should have in this company. And, they never had like a proper feud with the Lucha Brothers. I will say this. I'm going to use this segment, Larson, as an airing of grievances, by the way.
Have at it. Floor is yours.
So, do you remember the 2023 Stadium Stampede at All In?
All those Stadium Stampede matches all kind of blur together for me.
Okay, it was Stadium Stampede. No,
I remember the first one because Santana Ortiz were in it. That was the one that Hangman rode in on the horse.
Okay, right. That was the Inner Circle one.
Yeah.
This was the one where it was Blackpool Combat Club and Santana and Ortiz versus the Best Friends, Penta and Eddie Kingston. And this is how I know you'll know this part of it. Santana had just come back from a year-long injury on the go home. And at the time there were rumors that him and Ortiz were not getting along.
Yes. I know where
he
you're going with
comes
this.
back.
Yeah.
You and I immediately notice that there's no hug. No, like him and Ortiz have one moment where like Santana has Kingston, I think, like he's got him wrapped up and Ortiz hits him with the sock. And beyond that, they don't interact. They don't look at each other. They don't hug. Commentary's like, oh, Santana Ortiz back together. But their body language, immediately Ortiz like leaves. Back when Ortiz was wearing a hat. And you and I were both like, oh, they're still not on the same page.
Yep.
And I remember distinctly there were people in our comments who were like, what are you talking about? They teamed up. They're fine. That's a bunch of backstage gossip and rumors. No. They were not on the same. We told you so, whoever you were that said that they weren't the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, shit. I remember that now. Yeah, now that you talk about it, I remember that.
Yeah. Because when I looked, it's funny because when I looked at it, I was watching the video clip of that. I was like, who are the good guys and who are the bad guys here?
Yeah, that's a confusing matchup there.
It's a super confusing matchup. I to this day, like I didn't dive deeper into it. I have no idea what the genesis of that team was. None.
Yeah, well, it was when Eddie was feuding with Mox, right? And so Eddie assembled his friends, essentially.
Oh, is that what it was?
I think so.
So Santana got this big babyface pop for his return, and they were supposed to be the bad guys?
Well, no, that doesn't make sense either because if it was Eddie and his friends, it'd be Penta because Eddie always says Penta's his best friend.
Yeah, and then it was.
But then it'd
be
be Santana and Ortiz would be on Eddie's side, you would think.
But I guess they were on the opposite side.
Yeah, that's confusing. I don't remember.
Very confusing.
2013 was not
I'll be honest
a creative peak for AEW.
I'll be honest with you.
Or 2023.
Watching or going back through memory lane, this company's been kind of a mess over the past 5 years, Larson.
It has. It has. So regarding when he decided Santana that he wanted to leave, he dates the decision prior to the knee injury he suffered at Blood and Guts 2022. He says this in the same interview with Chris Van Fleet. He says, my decision to leave AEW came well before my injury. I got hurt in June of 2022, and at that point, I was just dealing with so much of my life personally and professionally at work. I was just burnt out. My contract was coming up in September, I believe, and I already made the decision that I'm not going to re-sign. I just need to take a break and deal with the things I needed to deal with. And yeah, so then the injury happened. So a lot of that was going on during that time. So obviously he got time, added on to his deal because of the injury. Ultimately left in March of 2024. Has since been wrestling for Impact. Just beat Josh Alexander at Genesis in an I Quit match. So, if the decision to go to Impact was because he wanted to listen, I know both Santana and Ortiz have been a tag team for years.
They were 10 years, yeah.
Wildly successful tag team at that. But, you got to think Santana's getting to that age where it's like, well, if I'm going to make a living being a singles wrestler, I got to do that now.
Yeah, dude, that's the one thing that sort of came across during the interview with Van Vliet too and that's essentially it. He's like, I want to continue to challenge myself. And if him and his partner, he says, being together for 10 years, as you and I can attest to a degree, although I would imagine being a tag team in pro wrestling is a much different beast than what you and I do. Just a couple of buddies who talk about wrestling for video and audio. He says, it's like being a married couple. There's ups and there's downs. He said, but at the end of the day, basically, our vision was not the same, and he wanted to, fight for more, and Ortiz, I guess, had a different philosophy. He was very diplomatic during the interview, but I think it's awesome that Impact was TNA was a situation for him that he could go and kind of reinvent himself in terms of what his vision is for a singles wrestler. And he's been getting a lot of good praise. You know, I don't have time to watch TNA. I know you're kind of in the same boat as I do, or as I am rather. But I've heard nothing but good things about his run there. So I think that's pretty awesome. And, you know, he does seem pretty diplomatic about the entire thing. And I remember when, you know, there were rumors that they were not getting along, and then it seemed obvious that, yeah, okay, they're going to split them up. That's a tough gig to be with the tag team for 10 years and then be able to craft that solo identity within that same company that you'd been in for 5 years or 4 years at that point. So hats off to him for you know, going and doing the thing that is kind of a risk, you know?
Yeah.
So good on him for that.
Yeah.
Anyways,
it's a tough situation to be in where you're in a pretty stable situation in the tag team that's, although not champions, historically very successful.
Very high profile, yeah.
And very high profile. And even, you know, hey, if their contracts expire in AEW, they could easily go to WWE at that point.
Yeah.
If they decide to stay a unit. Yeah, and evidently Santana had more ambition than just remaining in the tag team, which, you know, hey, you know, he's been wrestling for a while. And if he has ideas that he wants to pursue, you know, a career as a singles wrestler, again, kind of have to do it.
Yeah.
You know, while in your prime. So, and that's what he's doing. So, yeah.
All right, man, let's move on to number 9. Joey Janela. This one was really surprising and really kind of disheartening. Again, another great interview with Chris Van Vliet where he talked about, you know, pretty extensively the timeline of what happened. And it came down to one word, man, communication.
Lack of communication.
Thereof.
Yeah.
Because essentially what had happened was, you know, obviously he was with that great Sunny Kiss team. And they had a feud together. They had a feud against each other. And management wanted to try to recreate the man-woman dynamic that he had with Penelope. And Joey Janela went out on the indies, found Kayla Rossi, I think her name was. And they did a little thing with her, and Tony Khan liked it. And everybody was like, hey, this is going to go great. This is going to go awesome. And then it sort of just fell off the radar. And one of the things that Joey says in this interview that I thought was most interesting was he points to Tony's other responsibilities. He's like, the guy's kind of all over the place. And he never says it in a disrespectful manner. And in fact, in the interview, he seems a bit melancholy, a little sad of the fact that him and Tony used to hang out a lot, and he has not heard from him. And that's a bummer, you know, from a human perspective.
Yeah.
And so he didn't hear from him. And he mentions that in an interview, I think, with Denise Salcedo, that they've been radio silent. I haven't heard from them. Apparently that, according to him, he had heard that pissed Tony off. And
yeah, I guess the idea was that Joey did an interview about, he said he thought his contract was up for renewal and he assumed it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And then during an interview, he just said, I hadn't heard from anybody. He didn't know what was going on, so I guess he wasn't being renewed. And then in this Chris Van Vliet interview, he says, I heard Tony was hot about that.
Yeah.
Because it made him look bad, made their talent relations look bad, but at the same time, it made them improve their communications with talent. Within that 2-week period that I did that, communications were a lot better. I heard people were upset. But I also heard talent was hitting me up saying, you're 100% correct, you spoke up, and you're correct, and that was cool for you to take that risk.
Yeah.
He also mentions a super kick spot gone wrong with Eddie Kingston.
Yeah.
About why maybe the re-signing didn't happen. He said, I was set to re-sign, then I think I super kicked Eddie in the face a little bit too hard and broke his eye socket. I think he was going to feud with Jericho, and there was a little heat on me there, and I was just like, I'm not dealing with it again.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was one of the first people to sign with AEW in January of 2019. Yeah.
And he was like, from all accounts, he was like he
was the liaison seemingly between AEW and a lot of the indie promotions in terms of
the indie promotions,
bringing in the indie people to wrestle on Dynamite or Dark Elevation. Yeah.
Yeah. And so this one was surprising. And, you know, there were so many things. There were so many things about Joey that I thought they really could have done some cool stuff with. Remember those sort of Miami Vice-ish?
Those were great.
teasers they did with Sonny
Those
Kiss.
were so good. There's so
Yeah.
much potential with the team of Joey and Sonny Kiss.
Yeah, and they never really.
It never really went anywhere on Dynamite. You know, that they had their feud that was pretty much all on Elevation,
Yeah.
which was a bummer.
Yeah.
I mean, Joey had a couple of really good matches with Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
He had a good match with Mox. But yeah, just one of those talents that in the early days of AEW that seemed to hold a lot of promise in terms of being a prominent name in the company that they just didn't really do much with.
Well, it's funny, dude, because one of the sad things is there's so many talent that were kind of the glue that held the place together, and he definitely was one of them. In terms from what we've heard from behind the scenes, especially, and there was so much potential on screen as well that, you know, over the course of the last 4 or 5 years has gotten left behind. And he's not the only one. You know, it's like, hey, once you were able to sign guys like Punk, former WWE guys, Miro, Malakai, et cetera, it's like, okay, well, now we're getting big names, and who's going to be left behind? And we saw what happened with that.
Yeah.
Let's before we continue on, though, let's go ahead and talk about the sponsors for today's show.
Let's do it. Let's take a quick break here. Get a word from our sponsor, DraftKings Pick 6. Steve, right in the middle, the NFL playoffs. And now that the divisional round is in the books, time is running out to play DraftKings Pick 6 as the official daily fantasy sports partner of the NFL. DraftKings does fantasy sports like no one else.
And getting started with Pick 6 is easy. All you got to do is select 2 or more players and choose if they'll have more or less of a particular stat, like touchdowns, yardage, sacks, and more. And check this out. DraftKings is now making it even sweeter for first-time players. New Pick 6 customers play $5, get $50 in Pick 6 credits.
So win more cash on Pick 6. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app and use code RAW. That's code RAW for new customers to play $5, get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours.
And here's some disclosures from DraftKings Pick 6.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 30 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right. Thank you, Bill DraftKings. And let's talk about the other sponsor for today's show, Larson.
Let's do it. Let's get a word from our sponsor, Hims. Hey, guys, look. I know it's tough to deal with hair loss. I get it. It's getting pretty thin up here for me, too. But I'm here to tell you that just because you may have lost your hair, that doesn't mean you can't find it again. Hims makes treating hair loss simple with doctor-trusted options and clinically proven ingredients that can regrow hair in as little as 3 to 6 months.
Everything is 100% online, which means no awkward or uncomfortable doctor's visits. To get started, just answer a few questions and a medical provider will determine if treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your treatment is sent directly to your door for free. You can even choose from personalized chewable, oral, spray, and serum treatments to find what works best for you.
So start your free online visit today at hims.com/goinginraw. That's HIMS.com/goinginraw for your personalized hair loss treatment options. hims.com/goinginraw.
Results vary based on studies of topical and oral minoxidil and finasteride. Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. All right, man, let's continue on with our next entry. That's number 8. Ryan Nemeth.
Oh, this one's a bit of a mess.
This one's sad. Because, you know, man, not everybody's got the stroke, the pull, the name value of a Jericho, a Mox, a Joey Janela, even like a Fuego. Some of them are just Ryan Nemeths, man. Just trying to get out of the shadow of a brother.
Yeah. And then, you know, apparently having to deal with some issues with one Phil Brooks.
Oh, no.
And so apparently Fightful Select got a document that was sent to AEW executives September 12th, I believe, of this year, detailing the issues between Ryan Nemeth and CM Punk dating back to 2013. There's a lot here. We're going to link to the write-up here from Sports Illustrated about all this. So essentially, it seemed like CM Punk had issues with Ryan Nemeth, some of which related to a tweet that Ryan Nemeth put out there.
Do you remember what the tweet was?
Like literally the softest person alive or something like that. Literally the softest man alive.
See, okay. So now, Larson, again, we don't all have the stroke, name, value, power of a Mox, Jericho, Fuego.
Yeah.
And when you don't have those things, you can't be fucking around on social media like that. When, you don't have the stroke, you don't have the pull. He was like, "Oh, I thought that guy was gone." Oh shit!
Yeah, I know.
I thought that press conference might have been the last time.
Oh yeah, that was Punk's gone. Nothing to worry about. Let's see here. Let's go from here. So Nemeth said that he brought the issues up with Punk. Nobody responded. He was told or encouraged, as it says here in this write-up, to cut a heel promo on Punk on the August 16th, 2023. I would guess that'd be Dynamite. Maybe it was Collision. And then in this complaint, he describes Punk as a former AEW talent who also had undisclosed executive producer manager title with AEW.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Nemeth reached out to Mega Parek with concerns that he'd been targeted by CM Punk. This is when he was out with the torn triceps.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And then apparently he says that on June 21st, 2023, Punk threatened him in the AEW locker room.
Eee.
And that was after Nemeth put up the tweet calling Punk literally the softest man alive.
Yeah.
That Nemeth says was in character.
Oh, that needs to be clarified.
Yeah.
That's oh boy. Yeah, that's a tough situation.
It's a tough situation. It is. As a wrestler, how many times do you see something happen in the world of wrestling and the first instinct would be, how can I capitalize on this to help me? You know what I mean? How many times we've seen wrestlers do this? I'm not defending the behavior. I'm just trying to make sense of it all.
I know. Yeah.
And it seemed like, all right, he made the assumption, apparently incorrect, that I'm going to tweet this about Punk to try to get heat on me or get some notoriety. And it kind of backfired on him. So apparently he talked to Tony Schiavone, Mega Parek, and the Young Bucks, and they were like, don't worry, this isn't going to affect anything. And then apparently he felt at one point he was silently fired due to the issues with Punk. And then eventually his paid per appearance deal expired in March of 2024, not renewed.
He even prior to all that, like, he wasn't really used to that.
He was rarely on TV.
Yeah, man, that's a bad situation.
It's a tricky situation. It is.
Bit of a, yeah. You just gotta, honestly, man. Unless you're that big deal, unless you got an ironclad contract, guaranteed TV time or something. I don't know.
Again, I'm not trying to endorse this course of action, but if you're in a situation where you're struggling to get TV time and you see an opportunity, if I do this, I'll work myself into a program here.
Yeah, you worked yourself into a shoot, brother. That's what happened here.
So again, that's why I said earlier, like sometimes wrestlers see a situation and be like, how can I use this?
You gotta look at every situation as, I don't want to burn any bridges. And if I'm gonna tweet something out, or if I'm gonna say something in character, the target of that needs to be in the know.
Yeah.
And Punk wouldn't have been happy with that.
No.
that's my assumption.
No.
So hopefully lessons were learned, and he'll
Ryan's in TNA now with his brother.
Is that true?
Yeah, he's in TNA.
I didn't know that. Okay, great. Yeah. Awesome. Very cool. All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's go. Let's move on now then to number 7. Malakai Black. Are we going to talk to Malakai today? Here, let me bring Malakai in. Let me bring him in. If you have not heard this from the direct source, then you will not listen. I got rid of him. I can't do that. Okay, we can't do that now, Alistair. Okay.
No.
Malakai.
No.
Sorry.
I mean, how many rumors have there been of him being unhappy?
How many reports have been out there? The thing that I love. Here's the thing. I'm a big Malakai Alistair fan. Tom Budgen, my dude. He's my dude. That being said, the guy does make kind of a habit of whenever there's a report that comes out, he denies it and says, nothing is true unless you hear it from me. And then he clarifies in different words that exactly what the report was actually happened. I'll never forget the one about him approaching NXT and him being shot down, I think was the phrase that was used in the report. And again, I'm paraphrasing here, but I remember him doing the IG Live or whatever it was, where he says, he said, I didn't get shot down. What happened was I went to management and I pitched some ideas for NXT, and they said, we're not going to do that now. Something like that. He was a bit more diplomatic about their response to him, but it was shot down. They didn't. Yeah. Hey, did they use it? No, they didn't use it. They didn't use it.
Therefore, kind of shot down. So I was going to say,
and here's the thing, I can absolutely understand 1,000% how frustrating and difficult it would probably be to have your laundry out there for everybody to see and be taken out of context and be misinterpreted. And even if the report is ironclad, perfectly written, and everything's factual, people, aggregators will run with little bits and pieces and headline different things.
And sensationalize aspects of it to make it more than what it is. Yeah, totally.
So I can absolutely appreciate the frustration there, which is why he does this stuff.
Yeah, 1,000%. 1,000%. Because I was going to say, how many times have been rumors about him being unhappy, not willing to take losses, being hurt? And time and again, as you said, he's taken to Instagram Live usually and tried to shoot down those reports. Lately, it seems like the momentum is him leaving AEW. And PW Torch recently had some details on why. Apparently, he was telling people within the last year or two that he was feeling burnt out from wrestling, wanted some time away. But then,
I want time from January to February of 2025 away from wrestling.
And so, but apparently, also in the same PW Torch report, that some people backstage in AEW were quote frustrated with the perception that he was hesitant to do business, take losses, and frequent claims of injuries. Well, if the dude's hurt, he's hurt.
Yeah, that's not a claim.
Why would you be frustrated with someone dealing with injuries?
The creative thing to me would be, I think, probably especially frustrating because there aren't many wrestlers I would say this about, but given how he is often discussed openly, the level of detail he puts into his own creative on his own, even when he was stuck in the room from Vince McMahon, he would have like specific color lighting to signify who his feud would be with, et cetera, stuff like that. We saw that little short film he did, escaping from the prison of WWE. It was very creative stuff. I could understand 1,000% if Tony Khan comes to him, hey, I want you to do this pay-per-view and lose to this guy. And if it doesn't make sense from a creative standpoint, in terms of like, well, this is, the story you're asking me to tell doesn't make a lot of sense. You just want me to lose to this guy and put him over. I can understand why he would be, hesitant to go all in on an idea, especially when the creative in AEW is like kind of up and down all over the place,
Yeah.
So I could get that frustration in terms of like him being injured. Yeah. If the dude's injured, the dude's injured. What are you going to do about that?
Yeah.
I would be, if I was him, I'd be suspect of the creative ever since they had Arn Anderson block my finishing.
Exactly. I'd be like, that contract, let's just rip it up.
I don't know, man. I'm excited to see Alistair back in WWE. He wants to take a break from wrestling. He's got all of 2 weeks to come back.
Oh, you went back in the Rumble, huh?
I hope he enjoyed his time away from wrestling. I hope he found his itch again, because I want to see no man is ever truly hey.
It's a great theme song. Great theme.
You think
Apparently
they're gonna
also-
have like the Nosferatu thing?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they'll have that at all back.
Are they gonna have the creaking?
I hope not, because that was a Vince thing.
Can they bust that out during the Rumble?
They did in the past, didn't they? Did he make his Rumble entrance doing that?
Really? He did?
Maybe. I seem to remember that, but my memory's garbage. Also, that PW Torch report says he apparently never really developed a rapport with Tony Khan either. So
I just remember the security footage of CM Punk and Jack Perry going at it, and he so triumphantly walked out with CM Punk. He's like, "Yes, fuck this place, indeed." Oh man, I really like that guy. I want to see him on my TV again, dude.
Yeah.
Here's another guy that I think you and I both want to see in our TV.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Number 6,
6.
Miro.
Man, the Redeemer character had so much promise.
Yeah, dude, this guy was awesome.
And even the storyline they had about him losing, having the bad neck, and he came back and seemingly his neck issues were taken care of, and then nothing else happened with him.
Yeah.
He was dealing with injuries, apparently, is why he's out now. Apparently, at some point along there, he was rejecting creative pitches. This is from 2022. Meltzer says in September 2022, Tony Khan came to Miro and had this idea, which would build to a match on the November pay-per-view, and Miro didn't want to do it. Says if it involved, it's weird. A lot of people who came from WWE are very leery, obviously, Bryan Danielson being the exception about doing jobs, and when it becomes very difficult, then it becomes very difficult to book when you don't really want to do programs where you're going to lose, and then September 2024, according to Fightful Select, he requested his release from the company, and Tony Khan said no.
You know what's wild? This dude won a shit ton in AEW. He won. I am looking at his matches, including, of course, the loser gets out of their contract match with
Against Andrade,
him and Andrade. That was the most like, oh man, one of these dudes is gonna just like lay down for the other so he can get out of there.
I know.
Andrade ended up losing that. He beat before that Daniel Garcia, Action Andretti, Powerhouse Hobbs, Nick Camarado, Anthony Henry, Tony Nese. Look, these are not huge names, don't get me wrong. These are all dudes that like Miro should be beating, but he did beat a lot of people. His losses were few and far between. They had him teaming with Miro, with Sting and Darby. They should have had him win that international title.
Yeah.
He beat Ethan Page, John Morrison. He beat Danielson during, I think, the Continental Classic, or maybe it was it the Continental? No, I don't know what it was. He beat Danielson at one point, then Danielson beat him.
Yeah,
I mean, he beat a lot of scrubs, but man, they had this guy killing people. I'm kind of curious what the pitch was for the Full Gear.
I don't know. Apparently, at one point there was a pitch to do a program with Moxley.
That's not a bad loss right there.
No, it's not. You know, going back to this Meltzer quote here about WWE talent are very leery about doing jobs. And I got this is speculation. This is
good.
Conversation fodder.
I like it.
Got my brain spinning.
Yeah.
And I wonder how many people leave WWE, go elsewhere to get the security of working for a major company, but also use an opportunity to establish and strengthen their brand so that when that contract expires, maybe they can go back to WWE. And maybe that's one reason, perchance, that they're leery about taking too many losses.
Yeah. Look, man, you go from the biggest place, you go to a smaller place, you think you're going to be a bigger fish. And it's like, well, we already have kind of a good thing going here. We're going to have you win a lot against scrubs. And so you can be like the guy who loses to the bigger names. And I don't know, dude, I'm sorry. If you're in there with Mox, yeah, he's probably taking an L. He's probably taking a loss because Mox is a big deal.
Though.
Dude, especially back then, if this was like 2022.
Oh, Miro was great back then, man.
Yeah, he was.
Redeemer?
But bro.
Mox
was on the run of a fucking lifetime. Stop doing that noise. That's disrespectful.
To who?
Probably me. It's like in the middle of our conversation.
You're used to me being disrespectful to you.
It's Mox. I know I'm the same. I get it. But he's like a big fucking deal. What are you talking about?
I don't know. A lot of people seem bored with Mox.
Even back in 2022?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man. So Miro said, no, buddy. But we don't even know if that's a thing.
Yeah, we don't know if that's true. Again, even to go back to like the Malakai example, these reports and rumors of people not wanting to do business in AEW. Again,
see, Malakai was right. I think Malakai should be saying no to jobs because they had him block it. They had his Black Mass block. Nobody ever blocked
with a forum of a 60-something-year-old man. Yeah,
right.
That's an issue.
That's an issue. He has every right to say no. But like, look at Miro's record. He's had like nothing but wins. So take a fucking loss.
Well, I mean, that's his mindset then. Why lose now, buddy?
two paradigm shifts. That's not going to get the job done. Come on.
Nah, he dealt with his neck issues. Neck's not a weakness anymore.
Well, and it's been forever. Like, how did this guy sign like a 10-year contract? Why is he still like not doing it?
Apparently, he signed the same length of contract that Malakai did because it was initially supposed to be a 7-year deal for Malakai.
I think something like that. Dude, it's been over a year since Miro's been on TV, since he's done anything.
I think he's got shoulder issues now. That's what it was.
Oh, is that what he? Yeah, he doesn't like him pinning the mat.
That's the issue. Oh, goodness.
He's got this thing where if they're on the mat, he wants to throw one up.
Exactly.
Oh, all right. This is too much fun. Let's move on. Oh, I can't wait to talk about this guy. Number 5. Andrade El Idolo.
Speaking of instances where someone probably could have went backstage like, Tony, let's rip up this contract, is when Andrade made his AEW debut.
From momento uno, this guy should have been like, doesn't work for me, hermano.
Yeah. When you have his theme song being Vicky Guerrero screaming, excuse me. And he has to wander out on the stage at Daly's place with no music, no fanfare, other than, excuse me. He's got to wander out there. And he's like, oh, it's Andrade, but why is this so underwhelming?
Oh, man.
I'm surprised that day he didn't try to start a fight and get fired.
So, yeah, Andrade, this guy tried to...
No, he did get in a fight with Sammy Guevara.
I know. Well, wasn't it like he tried to goad Sammy into like fighting him or something?
Yeah, he
and
like
Sammy was like,
or something.
He was like, back up, man. I ain't fighting you. Look at you. You're fucking loaded. Look at your fucking muscles. They've got muscles. I'm out of here.
Yeah, super jacked.
Oh,
regarding maybe that incident, Dave Meltzer talked about Andrade on Wrestling Observer Radio. This is from 2022. He said this. His transcripts come from, what's this, TJR Wrestling? All right.
Sounds familiar.
Andrade is trying to get fired. We all know that. It's the first sentence. So far, when guys want to leave, some will go to great extremes to do that. It's happened to WWE. I've talked to people in WWE who have tried to get fired with some of the craziest things in the world. I've told them, look, it's not going to work.
It's not going to work.
There are some crazy stories of people trying to do some crazy things to get fired. Getting in a fight was never one of them. But there's much crazier things than that from people who want to leave. All right, come on, Dave. So now there's a situation on the other front, and there's not that many. It's like 3 that want to leave. This is around that time where it was like every day or every week, oh, this person wants to leave AEW. This person wants to leave AEW.
It was clearly just like Miro, Malakai, and
Andrade.
Yeah.
So you
it's like a reverse NWO. They're trying to invade another company, but they can't.
So Dave finishes here. There's different stories and whatever. Andrade is one of them, and he has basically said it publicly in that interview. So he had that interview where he talked about Sammy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. What was the thing he said about Sammy? He was like, I'm not going to name this person, but they were like talking
He's Sammy
shit.
Guevara.
And then he said, he was like, I'm not going to name them. And then he said, this guy's a punk. And he said, su nombre, Sammy Guevara. I was like, whoa, you just said you were going to name him. Talk shit about him. Yeah. Oh, man. That shit's hilarious. I'm like, dude, that might fly in like AAA, dude, but it's not going to fly here. And then,
it's the interview with Mas Lucha.
Mas Lucha. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Mas Lucha. Okay. So, but yeah, eventually he got what he wanted. I guess he was only on a 2-year contract though, or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
all right, this
move.
is what he said. This is from Screen Rant. I did have one issue with a wrestler. I'm not going to say his name. It was Sammy Guevara. I had an issue with him because he once came in the locker room and complained that I hit him too hard. It's wrestling. Solve it in the ring. If
That's
I hit
right.
hard, hit me hard too.
That's right. Yeah.
I learned that
Sammy Guevara can't hit anybody hard.
No.
He can't match blows with you, Andrade.
No, he can't. He says, I learned that he came in and that he accused me like a little girl.
Oh, wow.
After I learned about it, I spoke to him and asked if he had an issue with me, but he said he did not, and that's all there was to it.
That's amazing.
I'm not going to name names. It was Sammy Guevara.
Sammy Guevara. That's amazing. Gosh darn it, that's amazing. Oh, wow. All right, man. Let's move on to number 4.
For
the Lucha Brothers.
So
yeah. So
again,
apparently their thing was they just felt like they had stagnated in the company. And then they heard somehow, some way, I wonder from who, that WWE might be interested in Penta and Phoenix. Mm-hmm. And so then they were like, God damn it, we really want to go now. Like, not only are we not happy here, the big leagues want us.
And the issue here is they're apparently vocal about that backstage.
They were telling everybody about it, and once Conan caught wind of it, that dude's got a podcast.
Yep.
And he started talking about it. And then poor Ray Phoenix, that time he absolutely annihilated his leg.
Well, his elbow.
It was the elbow. That's right. The elbow was like that. Yeah,
he tore up his elbow in that one match. Yeah.
And so he obviously had to take a bunch of time off.
Yeah.
And so all that time was added to the contract, seemingly out of spite. Now, didn't they take Phoenix's merchandise down off the shop or something like that too?
So you can't even make money off his merch now.
Does he have a pro wrestling tees at least?
I would hope so. I would certainly hope so.
Because my goodness gracious, Ray Phoenix, Pro Wrestling Stores.
Did you see Baron Corbin pipe in on the Phoenix situation?
Page not found.
Oh, no.
Golly. I did, yeah. He was backing Tony Khan on that. He was like, dude shouldn't be talking shit because he's getting paid.
Yeah, virtually. That's kind of what he said.
Basically what he said, anyway.
That's kind of what he said.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been over the Ray Phoenix situation about how he's being paid to sit at home and how it's kind of lame. And, yeah, that's the verbiage in the contract, and he signed the deal. But I can't think of any other, certainly in the sports world, any other sport, any league where that's the norm.
So this is what Baron Corbin said.
Sure.
He said, if you sign a contract, you honor it. Would it have been okay if Tony didn't pay him while he was hurt or out of action? The answer is no, because Tony signed the contract as well. You can't switch teams after getting what you want and signing the contract. All right, so I'm going to say this real quick.
Sure.
Nothing he's saying here isn't factual.
Mm-hmm.
Probably getting back to our Ryan Nemeth situation. Probably best just to
don't get in Ray Phoenix's business.
Not get in somebody else's business. I mean, that transcends wrestling.
Yes.
It's just not a great idea to be getting in other people's businesses in the first place.
Nope.
So yeah, I don't know what that's all about. But this is freedom of speech, right? Tom Pestock?
I guess so.
Baron. Hey.
Baron.
He's not me.
But if you use what Baron said there in the sports world,
mm-hmm.
People signed a contract. Klay Thompson missed basically 2 seasons.
Yeah.
The Warriors didn't add more time to his contract.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But then again, in the pro sports world, players have unions.
Yeah.
That help them
negotiate,
make sure they're protected in that kind of aspect.
Mm-hmm.
That when they sign a 5-year deal, it's a 5-year deal, regardless if they miss time because of injury. Right. Imagine a player signs a 5-year deal, miss half a season because of injury. They tack half a season of contract length on. Middle of the season, they're a free agent.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It ends in the middle of the season. That'd be actually pretty cool.
That'd be pretty exciting, actually, but it doesn't make any sense. No,
it doesn't make a lick of sense. No. Oh man, let's move on. Of course, Penta end up in WWE, and then Phoenix still just sitting there.
Some point in 2025, will be there too.
Como se dice couch in Espanol? No say. Anyways, Let's move on to number 3.
3.
The Revolution will be televised, and Ricky Starks won't be on it because he's sitting at home as well.
Yeah, this one is like he talked about it. This is from.
This is wild.
Yeah, it's from Insight.
Another Chris Van Vliet banger.
Yeah, about why he hasn't been on TV.
This one, here's the thing about Starks. Starks knows. Starks knows.
Yeah.
He's smart in not talking about it. And I'm not even saying that it's necessarily his fault, but there's more to this story. I don't know if this guy walked up into Tony Khan's office and took a dookie on his desk, or if he sneezed near him, or if there's something weird. I don't know what's going on. If he was like, I don't know what this dude did. If he did absolutely nothing and Tony Khan just looked at him wrong one day, if he did absolutely nothing wrong, something else happened, because this is weird.
This is weird. And like, I know people say, oh, it was the Edge. It was the Cope segment.
Oh, get out of here with that. He's been off TV for
almost a year. It's been since March.
So the last match he had was that match with him and Big Bill versus the Top Flight guys.
Yeah.
And he did say in the Van Vliet thing that he got like a stinger from that. So he was probably going to be out for, I don't know how long. I think
a little bit because of the injury. Yeah.
A little bit because of that. So let's say he was out, I don't know, 3 months. That'd still be June. That's still half a year, over half a year that he's been nowhere to be found.
He's been healthy. I mean, the thing that came out today, I think it was Ibu from Wrestle Purist about how he asked for his release. Mm-hmm. He hasn't been turning down creative ideas. Mm-hmm. He's literally just sitting at home.
Yeah.
And this Chris Van Vliet interview, he talked about, how it was a mind fuck because he's in his prime. And he's just sitting there. And when asked about why, again, he says, beats me. I can have 1,000 theories about what's really going on. The fact of the matter is I don't have a definitive answer. I can't just make up an answer for people and just assume. But I'd love to have the exact reason for sure. Do I have speculations about why? Absolutely. But that does nothing to speak on things that I speculate. Does nothing for the situation. So I think it's just a matter of it sucks. This has been a very cold day here in Austin. It's been a very cold day. It may have been cold for the past 9 months, not sure, but thankfully I have a sweater. I'm always ready to keep the warmth going.
Yeah. Incredibly talented guy.
Oh, yeah.
Super talented guy, both behind the camera and in front of the camera, Larson.
And he's been doing some work on the indies.
Yeah, he's had a couple matches. Santana, who you'll know from earlier in this list, beat him at House of Glory to retain the House of Glory Heavyweight Championship. Mm-hmm. And then he cut a promo there. Again, pretty, elliptical, abstract in what he could say. Couldn't really say much of anything. Just, hey, I'm going to keep rocking and rolling, basically.
Yeah.
And this is a big bummer because this guy, he's got like Jericho 1999 written all over him, And let me ask you this, because I was thinking about this the other day.
Sure.
If let's say back in February, he went up to Tony Khan, was like, "Hey, I really want to go to WWE. Cody's there, Phil's there. They got a lot of people in the seats. Big deal. I'd like to go there. They give me a lot of money too." And Tony Khan was like, "Oh, what? No, I don't. I know you're gonna leave." Yeah. So I'm going to pick up your option to prevent that from happening because I don't know if you've heard WWE is on fire now.
Yeah.
And so he sits him out for a year plus simply because he wants to go to WWE. And maybe he told him that. Maybe it was a heated argument. And he was like, F you, B, I'm going to WWE. Mm-hmm. Tony Khan's like, oh, really? And then he picked up the option because that's what happened.
Yeah.
That's pretty shitty, huh?
It's super shitty. It's absolutely shitty.
Like, doesn't that hurt? I guess my original question before I went into that long description was, doesn't that just kind of hurt your company even more?
Yes.
But for one thing, you're making the hunger for people to want Ricky Starks in WWE even greater.
Yep.
Even greater.
Yep.
So, use the guy, generate goodwill amongst him, which will filter out to the talent. Hey, Ricky, that's cool. I understand. We think you're a big deal. We'd like to pick up your option, and we want to prove to you that this is the place to be. Here's some creative ideas where you get to win some. But if you still don't want to be here, the last couple months, we're going to be jobbing you out because that's the normal thing in pro wrestling.
Yeah. Or if it's a situation where it's as you mentioned, and also when AEW presents itself as the alternative to WB, part of that is in how they practice their business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then when you hear the situation with Phoenix, with Tony Starks, it makes you think of some petty bullshit that Vince would do when people would be unhappy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Send them home.
Yeah.
Keep them off TV.
Yeah.
If they bring them back, it's to do something that's embarrassing and humiliating. That's often what would happen in those situations. And it's shitty to think, all right, AEW presents itself as like, we're going to do business differently. We're going to be a promotion for wrestlers run by wrestlers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and that obviously hasn't happened.
Yeah.
And to see a situation like Ricky Starks, like Phoenix, where they're just stuck at home. Yeah, they're getting paid, but they're not being utilized. They're not out there having any opportunity to showcase what they can do. And it comes off as vindictive.
And again, here's the thing.
That's just not good business in my estimation.
Here's the thing also. It creates a negative fan perception about your company.
Yep.
Because people are going to side with the wrestler. That's what we're here to see. We're here to see the wrestler. And so even if Ricky Starks walked into Tony Khan's office and you know, peed in the corner, like, there's a better way to handle this.
Yep.
You know, there's a better way to handle this. It's not that doesn't create such a negative perception about your company.
Exactly.
Talking about companies and people being in charge. Let's talk about number 2. Cody Rhodes.
So he's asked about why he left AEW, he just said it was a personal matter. He said nothing to do with creative, nothing to do with money.
Well, he said it was
That's what he
not.
said.
It didn't have to do with money, and it didn't have to do with talent. I still think, and I think there's lots of evidence to suggest this, that Cody Rhodes was the original point man in terms of creative, because even Joey Janela in his interview was asked by Tony to write the story for the angle between him and Sonny Kiss and then Kayla Rossi and what was going to happen next. And so he said, I wrote it up, gave it to Cody so he could give it to Tony. Cody was the guy, I think, that had Tony's ear. And then he didn't. And Cody was like, well, great. I don't really have a lot going on right now. So, and then he sees like WWE. He's like, that's really where I want to be anyways. And I could probably be a big deal there. And now he's a big deal there.
He's a massive deal.
I think there's so much evidence to suggest that.
I don't know if that's strictly in relation to creative. I think he was the go-to for a lot of people for a lot of different reasons backstage.
Yeah.
I think he was viewed as the person that wrestlers would go to talk to if they had issues with creative, they had issues with whatever the case may be.
But here's the thing, though. Along the way, sort of big picture along the way, if Cody's not kind of steering the ship and just having kind of a blank check from Tony Khan, it's like, hey, Tony, we should do this, this, this. And Tony's like, okay, cool. That sounds great. That's how I would be. You know, if I'm sitting there, I don't fucking know anything about pro wrestling. I'm a billionaire. I really like pro wrestling. I'm going to start a company. And Cody's like, hey, listen, man, it's in my blood. It's in my DNA, son of a plumber. I know how to do all this shit, right? So it's fine. Listen to me. Cool, Cody, I will. And then at a certain point, I'm like, this is easy. This is like running an E-Fit. I could do this shit. Cody, I don't really need you much more. Cody's bringing this Joey Janela pitch. Nah, I'm good. I'd rather do this with him. And then people are realizing, oh, Cody really doesn't have, like, I can give him my script, but like, if I can't, if I can convince Cody, it doesn't mean shit, because he doesn't have his ear anymore.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
I know. No,
you know.
That's always been pure speculation, but I do think that a lot of that shit sort of lines up. And, you know, at the end of the day, I think the dude understood. Cody's always kind of understood the lay of the land. And he was like, I'm going to look at WWE right now because I don't know if you know this, but they're on fire. Yeah. And I want to go over there and I want to be the guy. And that's what happened.
So this is the most recent interview I think I found with Cody about this whole leaving AEW from October 2024. So that's not that long ago. You said this. There were so many factors that went into it. When I started talking about this, people try to cite, it was this, it was this. Here's what I could tell you it wasn't. It wasn't anything to do with Tony Khan and Brandy. That's a big one you hear all the time. Tony didn't sign Brandy. No, Brandy had re-signed. Roads to the Top, we had a nice show on TBS that had been renewed for a second season. He says, it was a situation that felt icky. This is how I look at it in the end. I had really great memories with all of them, all the way back to All In. I had a really beautiful experience for a while, and I want to keep the memories good. Yeah. I want to be able in 10 years, if I see those guys, I wanted to keep them good.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Do you think there was some backstabbing from the Bucks?
I don't know.
Something felt icky.
I don't know.
Backstage shenanigans. The real reason? Yeah, I don't know, man.
I don't know.
It does seem like, because I was looking at Reddit and I remembered this, that, Cody had one vision for the company and the Bucks and Kenny had a different vision for the company. Cody wanted to be Jim Crockett and the Bucks and Kenny wanted to be PWG.
The PWG stuff, and yeah.
That's what it ended up being.
Yep.
Anyways, yeah, I always loved that. Like the again, going back to like how wild the company is. When Cody lost that last match against Sammy Guevara for the TNT title.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember the circumstances behind that? Sammy walked in as interim TNT title.
Yeah.
Champion. Do you know why?
Yeah. Oh gosh.
2 weeks earlier at Battle of the Belts, Cody was supposed to defend the title, I think, against Sammy Guevara.
Yeah.
And instead, Cody was exposed to COVID.
Yeah.
And Sammy and Dustin had a match for the interim title.
Yes.
Which would be unified 2 weeks later.
2 weeks later. I know.
So for silly. One show, for this one Battle of the Belts, they just whipped out the old, probably the unfinished TNT title. Yeah. Isn't that wild? They created a whole interim title just for that.
For 2 weeks.
It's just weird.
It is weird.
It's such a weird thing to do. I think we probably said it was weird back then. Anyways.
I believe so.
Number one. CM Punk. I mean, come on.
Of course, CM Punk.
CM Punk. He had several meltdowns with the company.
He was publicly fired for cause. Brawl out, choking out Jack Perry backstage.
Public meltdowns, a couple of backstage meltdowns. This guy was burning out all over AEW.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, CM Punk's number one.
Of course he's number one. This guy was just burning out all over the place. And then he saw, once again, the WWE was on fire, and he decided, I want to be the face of that company. And now he's in the upper echelon, 5 or 6 guys.
He is. What about Sami Zayn? Is he in the upper echelon?
No! He's like in the top 11 to 13 guys.
Is that on all of WWE or just on Raw?
All WWE. Oh. Yeah, all WWE.
Yeah.
That's all WWE.
Yeah, I would say all WWE too.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyways, Larson, now's the exciting time. Because you and I both are going to look at the AEW roster and predict who's going to burn out next. Now, the great thing is, I already know my answer. So it gives you a little bit of breathing room here.
All right, you tell me your answer and explain why while I try to figure out mine, because you just dropped this on me right when we started and I'm unprepared. So
I know I did not give you any preparation, but we're at the end of the show. Nobody's really paying attention anymore, so it doesn't really matter if you come up with a lousy answer. My answer is Bobby Lashley.
When you brought this up at the head, that's the first name that popped in my mind. Yes.
Well, you don't have to come up with another answer then, because apparently already. Actually, I don't think this has been substantiated. But given that he had that one match with Swerve and that feud was dropped and then he was moved over to the tag division, I think this is a dude who's coming in, is thinking Bobby Lashley wins again and is going to find very quickly that it's like, I don't know, like, where are you going to end up? How are you going to get there? And you got to lose at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I think Bobby Lashley is going to be that next guy who it's like, man, why he hasn't been on TV? It's going to be something weird too. Like Hurt Syndicate's there, but Bobby's never there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like Shelton, we know Shelton, that dude, He just loves to wrestle. He's just there. He gets the paycheck. They're booking him kind of cool in a cool way.
Yeah, I think Shelton's in a prominent role. Yeah,
He'll take losses. Losses.
Yeah.
I don't know about Bobby.
How about the taking losses aspect of it? But I can think I have a name here of someone that might just be off. Fuck this, I'm done. And that's Wardlow.
Wow. Yeah. Did that guy sign like a 20-year deal? Did he get like that original?
I mean, he's been hurt a lot. He's been out for a while with a knee injury. So, 2 failed pushes. Actually, the first one, you can probably break that down to 3 segments and say each of those, they've tried something else and it failed.
Dude, isn't it wild that like had Wardlow somehow, some way had a contract that ran out a month before his MJF match, or even a month after.
Yeah, a month after.
He would have been a big deal coming to WWE.
Yep.
And now, like maybe NXT.
Yeah.
Which would probably be good for him because they probably would be like, okay, we're going to develop you a little bit,
Yeah. I mean, more than anything, he just needs help with the character aspect of things.
Boy, he was so perfect with the MJF stuff.
He had a clear direction, though. He
did.
He knew his role. He knew what he needed to do, and everything since said, "Oh, you beat MJF. Guess what? You're in a feud with over a lawsuit." What?
We got a great new phrase for you. It's Wardlow's World. Remember Wayne's World? It's like that.
So you get the contract rip. Doesn't work for me, Tony.
Oh man. So, anyways, let us know in the comments what you think about all this. I guess the one thing we didn't do is like definitively say who is at fault here. It's like, here's the thing. This is all for entertainment purposes, and it's all speculation.
Yes.
There's 2 sides to every story.
Yes.
And just always remember that it's all in good fun. So don't get weird in the comments.
Yes.
But hit that thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. Till next time, family, God,
don't
cope.
Goodbye, everybody.